What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. SummerSlam is just a week away, but all the wrestling world is talking about is Vince McMahon's official retirement from WWE. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including concern for Vince's health once he retires. Is he actually stepping down? Is there a backstage struggle for power? A Smackdown Superstar Has Heat, and much more. We'll also be looking at the 22nd July edition of the Blue Brand, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and a non-wrestling channel, Incredible. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Brock Lesnar actually shows up. Brock Lesnar's appearance last night was quite the surprise after initial reports that the Beast had walked out on Smackdown following the news of Vince McMahon's retirement. Brian Alvarez reported that Lesnar was upset with McMahon's exit, and Alvarez's stories are usually solid. But that doesn't mean his record is perfect, but it's also worth mentioning that Lesnar may have walked out and was talked back into returning. Whatever happened, Lesnar did a great job destroying Austin Theory, sending a message to Mr. Money in the Bank that he may want to think twice before cashing in his briefcase at SummerSlam. Number 2, Deville and Rodriguez rocking the ring. A SmackDown Women's undercard delivered again, with Raquel Rodriguez and Sonya Deville putting on an engaging and solid matchup. Rodriguez is a blue chipper with main event potential, while Deville reminded fans why she's so good even though she doesn't get to wrestle as often as she should. We hope that Sonya gets a chance for singles run, as she's talented enough with her MMA background and talent for angering the fans with her promos. Number 3, Atomic Powered Profits. The Street Profits' energy is unreal, both in the ring and on the microphone. Add in the chemistry between Dawkins and Montez Ford, and you have a team that the WWE needs to capitalize on. Yes, there's potentials and singles runs by both Ford and Dawkins, but there's no need to split the team up, and it's time for the WWE to give them a title win over the Usos. Number 4, The Real Forbidden Door. Did Xavier Woods name-drop Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling during the New Day's commentary on the Viking Raiders vs Shanky and Jinder Mahal match? Oh yeah, he did. Quite the shocker given the WWE's previous ban on referencing any other promotion. Could this be a sign the WWE is willing to knock on the forbidden door? It's too early to tell, but it's a hint that the WWE could be in for some big changes. Number 5, the Corbin and McAfee feud continues to entertain. Last night's brawl between Happy Corbin and Pat McAfee was a reminder that sometimes keeping it simple is the best approach. Here, both men just don't like each other, and Corbin continues to take out his anger on McAfee with sneak attacks wherever and whenever he can make them, while Pat fights back, waiting for the magic moment when he can finally get Corbin in the ring. And props to the WWE for Gunther's booking. Now, not only is the WWE booking him strongly, but they're creating some mystery surrounding Ludwig Kaiser's status. Is he Gunther's stalking horse, or is the Intercontinental Champion trying to build him into a worthwhile ally? Whatever the case, the WWE is keeping things interesting with Champion and his henchmen. But that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, is Lacey Evans done? Is Lacey Evans' latest storyline already done? The decision to turn her heel after a series of babyface vignettes was baffling enough, but nothing compared to the WWE's strategy of having a walkout of matches every week. It's an angle that shouldn't happen more than once, as it creates go-away heat for Evans and does nothing to help Aaliyah. Number 2, a disappointing Donnybrook. The WWE's announcement that Sheamus and Drew McIntyre will battle it out in a Donnybrook was anticlimactic, not so much because fans are expecting the match to be a disappointment, but because the WWE has squeezed the life out of the Sheamus vs Drew series with predictable finishes over the last few weeks, including endless run-ins by Butch and Ridge Holland. To make matters worse, it's inevitable that the match will go to a non-finish in order to set up another match at SummerSlam to determine the number 1 contender for the Undisputed Championship at Clash at the Castle. This was an ugly free night, which in light of Vince McMahon's retirement could have been a complete chaos or a boring show where the WWE did nothing to rock the boat. Stephanie McMahon's address to the fans about Vince's retirement could have been a tone-deaf disaster, but still the crowd ate it up with "Thank you Vince" chants. What did you guys think of SmackDown last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now first we looks at, is Vince really stepping down? Vinnie Mac still owns controlling interest in the WWE, and daughter Stephanie is working as co-CEO alongside Nick Khan. Dave Meltzer contemplated the situation during the latest Observer, saying, "The people I was out with tonight are, pretty savvy business people here, with major companies. 2 of them just said flat out, co-CEOs never work," which is an interesting thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Stephanie McMahon focuses on the WWE's creative end while Nick Khan continues handling the business end as he did during his successful run as WWE president. While this is only a theory, we feel this sets things up for Khan to eventually become CEO by himself while Stephanie moves to another role or steps down as she did earlier this year. However, none of this will matter if Vince McMahon continues running the company covertly, a scenario that Meltzer mentioned. One of them said that whatever anyone says, the guy who owns most of the shares is still the guy who, in the end, has the power, and Vince, unless he divests himself, and he's not done that, and I don't believe he's going to do that until there's a sale. Next up, concerns for Vince McMahon's health. And now that Vince McMahon has apparently retired, what will he do and can he survive retirement? There's apparently already talk about whether Vince McMahon can stay in good health with no wrestling empire to run. Fans are well aware of McMahon's past comments that he has no plans for retirement, as well as anecdotes from those in Vince's inner circle that Vinnie Mac would retire when he was carried out of Titan Tower feet first. With that in mind, PW Torch's Wade Keller reports that there's concern amongst Vince's friends and business associates as to how he'll handle having so much free time. According to Keller, one wrestler was quoted saying, "What the F will he even do with himself? I worry his health will go downhill from this." Will Vince finally get a chance to discover the world he's isolated himself over the last 40 years? I don't know, in some people's minds it's like coming out of prison after a long stretch. Next up, Backstage struggle for power. The WWE has set things up on a corporate end, but what of its creative department? It's been said that nature abhors a vacuum, so is Vince McMahon actually stepped down from creative? But you can be certain there'll be a scramble for power. Meltzer hypothesized, as far as overseeing all creative, that's a really interesting question. There's going to be a power grab. Now, tonight's show was Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey, but Paul Levesque was also there, and I guess he was, from what I gather, he was the closest to being Vince McMahon as far as he was the overseer tonight. While the WWE likely doesn't want to make any dramatic changes, expect to see an evaluation of what works and what doesn't, as well as who has the final say. Next up, Triple H in creative. Well, speaking of Paul Levesque's role in the WWE creative department, what should fans expect with the game getting involved in creative? Well, Triple H has recently returned to the role of EVP of Talent Relations, leading to questions about whether he might resume some of his creative chores in NXT. Meltzer discussed Helmsley will get involved in creative again, saying, "I believe so, Triple H will be involved in creative, but how involved is still something that we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, he was involved in tonight. I assume talent relations would normally be pretty separate, but I can only assume having him involved in some capacity just because of limited options." At this point, everything is speculation, but we believe there's merit to Meltzer's musings, especially the following. Because of limited options, I do expect him to have some power of creative or some power on the wrestling side. Especially if we look at the idea that Stephanie runs the wrestling side, Nick Khan runs the business side. He's Stephanie's husband and he's got his guys and he's got people who are loyal to him. While Triple H seems like an ideal candidate, the WWE will have to ensure that the cerebral assassin does not take on too many responsibilities given his recent cardiac issues. It's easy to envision scenarios where Triple H is overextended to the point that his physical health will be jeopardized as he works to help the WWE through this transitional period. And finally, a Smackdown superstar has heat. And where's Max Dupree? Well, that's the questions fans might have asked when Max Dupree's storyline sister Maxine Dupree made a debut on SmackDown, joining Mason Mansoor in the Maximum Male Models faction. Max was nowhere to be seen, so where is he? Well, PW Torch's Wade Keller reports that Max Dupree has gone from the faction. He stated, "Max Dupree, sources indicated he had rubbed some people the wrong way and wasn't fitting in, so a decision was made by Vince McMahon a couple of weeks ago to write him out of the storyline." Max knew last week he was making his final appearance when he plugged his sister would show up on SmackDown this week. Keller also noted that Maxine Dupree is former NXT superstar Sophia Cromwell. But there you have it guys, our look at this week's SmackDown as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.